Iron as part of our on-demand program. My name is Carolyn, and I am your host at the Lenovo Executive Briefing Center. Today, we will be exploring the topic of applying chain of trust principles to data protection. This webinar is being hosted live and will be made available on demand after we wrap up today. The first 30 minutes of today's webinar will be covered by Greg, Tevis, and Ed Soo Hoo, with the last 15 minutes reserved for question and answers. So if you have a question along the way, please be sure to put it in the questions tab and we will answer them at the end of the session. I know you're all excited about the Sony noise canceling headphones that will be given away today. And we'll be announcing our winner at the end of today's webinar, but we also have a surprise bonus. We have a second giveaway of a $100 Amazon gift card, and we will be announcing both winners just before the Q&A session. Okay, Ed, would you like to kick this off with some quick introductions?
Sure thing. Thanks, Carolyn. Hi, everyone, and thanks for attending. My name is Ed Soo Hoo, and I'm with the Lenovo Data Center Group, and I'm part of the Field C-Suite Innovation and Transformation team. My background is a few decades of experience in the industry with strategic and strategy roles at Oracle, HP, Unisys, Novell, Infor, and along the way, a sprinkling of about 8 startups of various technologies and business models, as well as managing a data center with 100,000 square feet of raised floor. With me today is Greg Tevis, VP of Strategy at Cobalt Iron. Greg is responsible for product strategic direction, intellectual property, and competitive intelligence. Welcome, Greg.
Thanks, Ed, and also welcome to all who are listening live or any that might be listening on the recording. Appreciate you joining.
Greg, like many of our audience members, we both have been working in this data management industry for a long time. Can you give us a quick overview of your experience in storage and backup?
Sure. Been working in storage and data management development for about 38 years now in various roles. Much of it really around customer-focused consulting. So I've had the privilege of, especially the last 20 years, meeting with many customers and partners on a regular basis, which is always best part of my job for me.
Great. Hey, so there's a tremendous amount of history and experience on this call. And part of the purpose of this webinar is to take an objective look at the business opportunities that lie ahead, but also the risks that are associated. We also want to share with our audience the strong partnership that we've developed between Lenovo and Cobalt Iron in order to leverage some of these opportunities. So first of all, Greg, who is Cobalt Iron?
Well, Cobalt Iron is the global leader in SaaS-based enterprise backup. The company was formed in 2013 to really with the goal and ambition and execution of bringing about a transformation in the world's approach to enterprise backup operations. Cobalt Iron transforms enterprise backup complexities really into business outcomes. And today, Cobalt Iron delivers enterprise data backups to customers in 44 countries and processes more than 8 million backup and recovery events each month. Ed, why don't you tell us a little bit about Lenovo? I think most people know it, but give us an overview.
Great. Hey, thanks, Greg. So Lenovo is a $55 billion a year company. It's a Fortune Global 500 company publicly traded with over 63,000 employees operating in over 180 countries around the world. Now, while you see some really great numbers here, 7 out of the 10 hyperscale customers in the world run on Lenovo, #1 in reliability 7 years straight now with a boatload of server workload performance benchmarks, as well as high performance computing. While the numbers are very compelling, the case study that we have for one client I'll share with you is that over a span of 9 months, we installed 96,000 servers across 13 countries into 35 separate data centers. When you think about the logistics involved, the end-to-end design, the building, the shipping, the installation, the test, and lights on, this allows a phenomenal outcome for many of our clients from the endpoint all the way into the data center and even into the hyperscale clouds. So that's who Lenovo is.
Thanks, Ed. And I would add to that the tremendous brand recognition that Lenovo has. So again, welcome to everyone joining today, our audience. Today we're going to cover 3 key areas. We're going to talk about the data landscape, the evolving data landscape, sort of the big picture, the risks involved with that, and also the opportunities there. And then we'll talk about how data assets continue to evolve and how technologies continue to transform the value of data. And then finally, a key part of this webinar is, going back to the title of the webinar, is we're going to talk about how we can apply a chain of trust principles to data protection end to end. And so we'll explain some of that, and some of it I think hopefully will be interesting to the audience. And then we'll take some questions at the end. So first of all, let's take a quick look at the evolving data and IT landscape, that big picture and the big risks that continue to evolve. But along with that, those big opportunities. I want to mention to the audience that I've had the privilege over the last couple of months of getting to know Ed better, and I found him to be a really great visionary on the IT world, and he has great insights into this evolving data landscape that we're discussing. So Ed, with that introduction and queuing you up there, maybe you could share some of your views on the changes taking place in the IT and data landscape today.
Sure thing. Appreciate it, Greg. You know, as we look at this one picture here, I use this a lot when I do my keynotes and discussions with a lot of executives across multiple industries. And there's a big picture out there, and I want people to kind of, instead of zooming in, I want you to zoom out, back up and look at a bigger picture. When you do that, you'll start to recognize what I think are big opportunities as well as the associated big risks. There are dots, lines, and circles when in many ways they represent different systems, different data types, different people, and all these are interconnects that are either fixed or dynamic. And so as we think about what's going on now, I was having a chat with a client. He had like 2,000 convenience stores, and he was talking about the recovery. I actually shared with him, I said, I don't see it as a recovery. I actually see it as a renaissance. And we're moving from survive to thrive mode right now. And it's really important that it's an understatement that COVID-19, the pandemic, and the resulting shutdowns have dramatically altered the ways individuals live and how businesses function. Reliance on networks, infrastructure, cloud, and associated technologies have never been greater. And the effect of such dependence had laid bare weaknesses in existing architectures and infrastructures. The result has been a proliferation of opportunities and use cases for technology to remediate this pandemic-driven impact to our daily life, namely remote work, increased video streaming, network impacts, and virtual collaboration. I call these vectors the data streams that are driven through volume, variety, and value. So as we look at the next slide, I call this the data landscape from edge to core to cloud. If you look at that triangle, the pyramid, I call that the Tower of Babel, and all the different things that are inside of it, from the fog layer to the edge where there are billions of devices, sensors, and actuators. Companies face the challenge of collecting, integrating, and managing data in real time from any source in real time. So in the digital economy, everything becomes a data source. Data-driven commerce and enterprises. This requires a different mindset and a series of investments in data platforms and devices to deliver the right data at the right time to the right user. Edge data and compute is increasingly relevant in a world where low latency, advanced analytics, and intelligent data mining are quickly gaining momentum across a wide set of industries. So as edge devices become more common and require more processing power and storage, an increasing amount of data is being generated on what we refer to as the fog or the edge. By sending only the most important and least sensitive information to the cloud, as opposed to raw streams of data to it, fog edge preserves bandwidth, eases the burden on the cloud, and reduces costs. So if you look at these 4 boxes, from the public cloud to the edge IT to edge OT, operational technology data streams, and generating edge data, it is critical that data, as it moves up and down that triangle, from edge to core to cloud, that you're able to take and understand that data needs to be taken action on when you sense it and when you decide and how and when you take action. So as we look at transformation and the value of data, data means business. Why? The consumer and enterprise data revolution will continue to rage on in 2020 and beyond. Shifting to connected commerce or connected business, omnichannel, to industrial IoT and more is critical. Going from survive to thrive is key, as expectations are for more convenience, more speed, access, personalization, and most importantly, security. Data is the new oil. It's the currency, it's the intellectual property, and it's the value of every enterprise. Business continuity is critical at all layers. Key areas to address for data are modernizing your data architecture for your data lake and warehouse, aligning your initiatives to business goals, governance, risk, and compliance, leveraging analytics and to drive insights and driving actionable and relevant actions and outcomes. Next slide.
So I'll pick up here. Thanks for those insights, Ed. Along with that changing data landscape you've been describing, traditional, I think everyone recognizes, including everyone on the call here, that traditional approaches to platform security really need to evolve as cyber criminals are upping the ante, exploiting vulnerabilities in data center servers and internet devices themselves. And we see that cyber attacks, as we're well aware, are becoming a key risk to business, brand, operations, and obviously financials. And as we all know, as you stated, Ed, that data is really the key, one of the key assets of pretty much all businesses, and that those data breaches can be very costly. So we probably couldn't have a security webinar without some distressing statistics. So let's take a quick look at some recent developments in cyber attacks. According to a very recent Kaspersky research, there's been a 23% increase in the brute force attacks methods on database servers just in the first couple months of this year. Any thoughts on that, Ed?
Yeah, you know, I see and understand the brute force, but they're also highly sophisticated now, and it's an amazing global phenomenon where you know, with the globalization of business, it's also the globalization of attacks.
So Ed, let's look at these last two statistics. They were very interesting to me because I hadn't really fully realized the level of attack increased against hardware and supply chains. And one example here is IDC states that 93% of companies have had a data breach in the last year due to hardware vulnerabilities. So you probably have better insights on that, being from Lenovo. What are you seeing as, you know, are you seeing this as a evolving threat?
It is a constant threat. Ever since I was at a company called Phoenix Technologies, when we owned about 90% of the market share for BIOS and firmware for x86 devices, we've been seeing a large increase and going beyond just the software attacks and, you know, network attacks. They're going into inside as well as outside, inside the supply chain, as the products move from design to ship to build to installation and on site. We're starting to see a lot of different creative and unique attacks now.
And you brought up, Ed, something that pertains to the last statistic here, that according to Symantec, a 78% increase in supply chain attacks.
Yeah, we're starting to see a lot of that, and it's really critical. And this is why the chain of trust is so critical in this, where it's not just the hardware and the software, but it's the actual supply chain, the methodology, the best practices that are really critical, and that is where weaknesses are being exploited.
Yeah, great points. These statistics, we just, you know, statistics aren't that fun sometimes, but wanted to include them in our discussion here because they lead us to some of the key topics for our webinar today. And they also represent, I think you referred to this, Ed, they represent part of the reason Lenovo and Cobalt Iron have partnered together to bring a powerful and secure data protection solution into the on-demand program. So Ed, could you introduce us and the audience to this Lenovo Cobalt Iron partnership and the need to protect data through what you call the chain of trust that begins even before the data is created?
Absolutely. So today, you know, we're really going to focus and talk about security practices and product features that you should want and expect from your hardware and backup application partners. And these are best practices that are learned by both Lenovo and Cobalt on a global basis across different industries and different use cases, which will serve to protect your most important corporate asset, your data. So this is what we call the chain of trust. And so we're going to first start with the threat landscape as it evolves. So when you look at the stack, top down from the application layer all the way down to the hardware layer, you'll see three distinct levels or areas for opportunities to attack to get to your data. And not only your corporate and customer data, but even your backups are a constant threat of being compromised. This is one of the latest approaches in ransomware attacks that get you to pay up. Together, Lenovo and Cobalt Iron have built in security features which protect your data. So let's investigate the life cycle of data protection practices, which Lenovo and Cobalt Iron have deployed as best practices, who can help you and which can help you then secure your data and to avoid being under the threat of attack by bad actors.
Okay, so as Ed's mentioned, Lenovo and Cobalt Iron have forged a partnership and actually an easy to acquire on-demand solution that establishes this chain of trust that we have started talking about and we'll talk about in the next few minutes as well. And also the security discipline is part of this on-demand solution. That security discipline stretches from the infrastructure design and development through supply chain fulfillment and all the way into daily operations that leverage and protect the valuable business data. So the graphic you're seeing here illustrates a life cycle of not the data, but the data protection discipline, which goes all the way back before the data even is being created. So it starts with solid security practices and ends with ongoing data governance on a day-to-day basis. So today's discussion is intended to help you understand how to ensure the most stringent security chain of trust at each step of this data protection lifecycle. So on the left-hand side, you'll see some of the infrastructure elements. The security features in these areas are really led by Lenovo, including the security practices, product design, the supply chain that we keep referring to. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see more the data and operational elements and the links in the chain in those areas. So the security features in these areas really are led by Cobalt Iron Compass solution. They include backup operations and disaster recovery operations, securing the data, and also data governance. So let's dig in deeper into each of these 6 areas on the threats and security features. Ed, why don't you start us out by describing the links in the infrastructure elements, the ones sort of on the left-hand side of the chain?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So Greg mentioned 3 areas, right? The practice, the product design, and the supply chain. So as we look at security practices, the life cycle of data protection starts with robust security practices. Some of the best practices that Lenovo employs, you would want to see from every and any trusted supplier that you do business with regarding security. So as we look at our best security practices, we start with security training for all of our product teams. We have physical security controls that govern all of our facilities. Very high level pre-approved clearance is required to access our Code Vault Center. As we look at organizations that we create to ensure solid security practices, Lenovo includes the Software Security Review Board to drive and oversee secure development lifecycle. We have a product security office as well as the chief product security officers that oversee governance and compliance. Also, they drive security features into our products to ensure a supply chain security approach. We have a robust vulnerability management practice set up as well as product security incident response team that works with customers, suppliers, researchers, the US Department of Homeland Security, the organization of what they call the Computer Emergency Readiness Team. And then we also work very closely with the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, also known as CFIUS. CFIUS, for those in the audience, is an interagency committee that is authorized to review transactions involving foreign investment in the United States by foreign persons. They have ongoing audits, and Lenovo has passed all of these audits 100% with 0 infractions. As we look at the next layer of product design in the security approach, moving to product design is the next step in this chain. Lenovo practices to ensure to help your server will not introduce security vulnerabilities at the hardware level. And some of the design practices includes a secure SDLC that is reviewed and approved by the US government. Our source codes are stored, compiled, and digitally signed in a US development lab, which is partitioned from corporate networks and has very restricted access. The firmware must be validated as originating from the secure code vault in Morrisville, North Carolina, or it will fail to install. This keeps the foundation safe, secure from any unauthorized updates, which could allow a control by an attacker. So we approach it with an innovative tamper-proof product design. And as an example, if physical tampering of our edge server is detected, the data automatically is encrypted. As we go from product design to the supply chain, the next step is the ability to look at the entire chain and think about how your supply chain can protect your servers from an unauthorized entry at any point during the manufacturing process. These are areas where our best practices have led to a proven secure supply chain. So a few facts about how Lenovo looks at a secure supply chain. We participate in the Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, CTPAT, in their audits on our supply chain. This certifies manufacturing points, origination, consolidation points, and provides enhanced cargo screening. Lenovo also has achieved the highest security level for supply chain audit from CTPAT by the US Customs and Border Protection Organization, as well as the Department of Homeland Security. We use only vetted and trusted suppliers, as well as perform annual assessments evaluating their development and manufacturing processes to identify and mitigate any security risk. We've been ranked in the Gartner Supply Chain Top 25 since 2013 and ranked number 7 in the high-tech supply chain in the 2020 report. All of our manufacturing plants are Lenovo owned and controlled. Customers also have the option to specify complete manufacturing in the United States. So we also employ the Intel transparent supply chain methodology implemented at the factory to enable end users to validate where and when every component of your data center group platform was manufactured. This comprehensive service enables visibility and traceability of hardware components, firmware, and systems. Greg, could you talk to us about the remaining links in the chain from this point?
Sure, you bet, Ed, and thanks. I found those areas very interesting that you described. So Ed has talked with us about the unique ways Lenovo drives a secure chain of trust into the infrastructure development with stringent security practices, product design discipline, and security discipline throughout the supply chain. I find it interesting to note that all of this is security discipline required before any data is ever even created. That data that will eventually reside on or will be backed up upon that infrastructure. So our security concerns need to go back even before. A lot of times there's just focus on the data itself, but it also goes back to the infrastructure. That chain of trust needs to. So let's now talk about how Cobalt Iron continues this secure chain of trust as the data is created, backed up, governed throughout the life cycle of the data itself. One of the most important links in this chain of trust for securing data is really proper backup of the data. Cobalt Iron Compass not only protects data, it delivers very unique security disciplines that greatly reduce the risk and the impact of ransomware attacks. So security discipline and backup operations really requires, securing all the infrastructure and the operations around backup that are involved in the deployment, operation, upkeep, management of the total backup solution. Cobalt Iron achieves this security discipline with quite a number of unique design characteristics. One of them is that there's completely restricted access with Compass to the Compass backup infrastructure and operations, and this nearly eliminates any cybersecurity vulnerabilities in the backup state itself. Next, Compass has analytics-driven enterprise backup that's delivered in a SaaS model, and this allows humanless operations that provide simplicity, operational automation, and secure deployment and maintenance. We all love humans, but sometimes taking the human factor out can help increase your security position. Also, Compass is driven by policy, including security policies, and this allows for consistent security and service levels across all your backup operations. And finally, we mentioned workflow integration because backup operations can be securely consolidated with enterprise IT operations and security procedures and processes. So the next chain, or next link in this chain is really around data security. And this is pretty common, and most backup products do this, and probably most companies have some mechanisms for achieving this, but Cobalt Iron Compass is very comprehensive in its data security capabilities. Data security refers to the process of protecting that data from unauthorized access or corruption throughout its life cycle. A key difference in the Compass solution is that the security features are built in as a core part of the platform and delivered with every deployment at no extra charge. And in addition, the Compass platform is constantly evolving to protect against new attacks. Most security solutions applied to backup are static in nature. They begin to become obsolete as soon as they are installed, and they have a constant need for updating to remain effective. In contrast, Compass employs a powerful combination of capabilities that are constantly evolving. They include immutability and completely restricted access to not just the backup infrastructure, but to the backup data. So the backup data cannot be compromised. It includes backup containment and isolation, which secures backup against unauthorized access during its life cycle. It includes data encryption in flight and at rest with automated key management and automated key rotation. And that allows data to be secured at all parts in transmission and storage. And then finally, there's data validation that Compass provides during both ingest and restore to protect against data corruption. The last link in the chain that we'll talk about today is very interesting topic, data governance. There are probably multiple definitions for what data governance is, but I would like to say it's a system for defining who within an organization and or what entity within an organization has authority and control over data assets and how those data assets might be used. It encompasses the people, processes, technologies, et cetera, required to manage and protect data. And data governance, as we all know, is becoming increasingly important with various government regulations. Cobalt Iron Compass monitors, governs, and analyzes all backup data, backup infrastructure, and backup operations. So some data governance capabilities that Cobalt Iron Compass includes is continual data authentication, validation, and monitoring. So there's continuous threat monitoring and tracking. We talked about backup data managed completely by and security managed by policy. This secures backup data against unauthorized access and actually eliminates the deletion of data. So it's immutable, but also eliminates deletion of data except by very closely monitored expiration. And then Compass and policy, and then Compass provides automation and analytics that enforce the data governance. So there's continuous, very high fidelity monitoring and also increased responsiveness that's really just not possible with humans. And then all activities and events are tracked and logged, so there's continuous audit and compliance readiness. Okay, so let's summarize the Cobalt Iron and Lenovo Compass On-Demand solution. The Compass On-Demand solution is built on the foundation of Lenovo's security practices, product design, and security, secure supply chain. Compass builds on that foundation by providing a backup solution that's, as we said, is policy managed, including security policies, has powerful and unique security features, including completely restricted access to the entire backup landscape, containment by design, data immutability, data governance. The list of security features of Compass goes on and on. Then Compass also automates daily operational tasks, which not only saves time, but delivers consistency to operations and increased security and continuously current software, which is important in the security perspective. Ed, I made a note here when you were talking at the beginning that something I wanted to go back to. I heard you say at the beginning, you said organizations need to evolve from surviving to thriving, and I love that view. And this is exactly what the Compass On-Demand solution does for enterprise multi-cloud backup operations. The Compass solution is available in Lenovo On Demand. It establishes, maintains, and governs a secure chain of trust throughout the lifecycle of data, including before the data is ever created. This chain of trust includes enforcing security discipline, as we talked about, in the infrastructure development, the supply chain fulfillment, the data backup, and data operations ongoing throughout the lifecycle of the data. So this unique partnership between Lenovo and Cobalt Iron through the On-Demand Solution Program makes an easy decision to protect your data everywhere it lives. So with that, we want to really thank our audience members for joining today's presentation. And it's now time, the time that you've all been waiting for, to announce our winners. Winners were selected at random from the registrants, excluding, unfortunately, Lenovo and Cobalt Iron employees. So our winner of the Sony noise canceling over-the-ear headphones with Alexa voice, sorry, that's the official description. Drum roll, please. Our winner is Chris Trudell. And Chris will be contacting you probably in the next hour or two. So congratulations. We'll be reaching out to get that to you. And now our winner of the $100 Amazon gift card. Again, Ed, a drum roll there. Congratulations to Stephen Henshaw. So please check your email. It'll be easier to get your gift card to you, Stephen, than the headphones to Chris. But we'll check your email, Stephen, in the next couple hours for that Amazon gift card. So congratulations to both our winners. We'll now move on to the Q&A portion of the briefing. Looks like we have about 5 to 10 minutes here, Ed.
Okay, great. Hey, Greg, I want to remind everyone on the Q&A panel to ask any questions that they have, right? So we have a couple of questions in the queue. Again, remember, if anyone has any questions, please put them in the question tab. So Greg, one of the questions that I see here is, what are the key aspects of data governance that businesses should be concerned with?
So let me take a swing at that, and then maybe I'll ask if I missed anything from your view, Ed, because you're very keen on this as well. But first of all, this is a great topic, especially for Cobalt Iron Compass. First of all, it's about security controls, access controls, encryptions, immutability, but it's much, much more than that. It's monitoring all the activity around the data, who has access to it, access activities, operations on that data, changes in controls, whether it's policies affecting that data or access privileges affecting that data. And the list goes on and on. So it's, the security controls themselves, it's monitoring every aspect of that data, and then it's continuous reporting, audit readiness, and compliance. Does that sort of sum it up? Do you have any other thoughts on that, Ed?
That does sum it up really well. The data governance or master data management, which is the higher level, is absolutely critical for many of our clients as we have discussions with them around the businesses, how they're impacted with the current challenges today. And many of them are finding that they have so many data sets, data streams at disparate areas that they're not sure where and how to protect them. So having a master data management and data governance as the driver with that, with the combined solution from Lenovo Cobalt Iron, helps ensure sort of like a lot of the companies to build their best practices.
Yeah, good point, Ed. And I know with all the government regulations, I know many customers as I've done consulting and partners, they just struggle. What are we supposed to do here to even match these government controls? And that's why I mentioned at the end that continuous reporting, audit readiness, and compliance across wherever that data is very, very important. And Cobalt Iron Compass actually has tremendous capabilities in that area. I see a couple other questions. I'm sorry, Ed, did you have a comment?
No, go ahead.
No, I was done. I was just going to see the next. I see there's a couple other questions. So here's one. Should I take this one, Ed? It's asking specifically about what parts of backup does Compass automate?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me jump on that one real quick. And I see another one or two that might involve Lenovo more. But okay, so what parts of backup does Compass automate? It's really a long list, but started with automated updates. This includes software updates, upgrades, security patches, firmware updates, BIOS updates, and that's done across the operating system, backup software, backup catalog software, storage firmware levels, etc. All aspects of the backup infrastructure. Compass also delivers automated agent install packages to make that process simple and easy. There's continuous automated monitoring of all components and operations, automated notification and alerts on thresholds and failures. That's all automated. And we like to say Compass automates about 90% of the daily administrative tasks associated with backup operations. So customers shift their expertise really to business outcomes from monitoring and managing menial tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. How about this one? Ed, why don't you take this one? Can you tell me what the benefits of purchasing through the on-demand solutions are? Do you see that one?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so through the on-demand solutions offering, you're assured of a fully tested and certified solution built on proven hardware, and it installs quickly, which is really important to get time to value. And you have a single vendor to work with for support issues. So these are just some of a few of the benefits, and we invite you to kind of go on site to look at the on-demand solutions as it pertains to backup capabilities from Lenovo and Cobalt Iron.
Okay, and Ed, I see another one on Lenovo here. They're asking about what are additional security features of Lenovo servers that maybe we haven't talked about. You mentioned quite a number, but
there's quite a few. But among them, we employ embedded root of trust, including the Intel Boot Guard, which is an authenticated code module that verifies a known and trusted BIOS is booting on the server. We also disable defaults that are susceptible to threats such as telnet and transport layer security version 1.0, etc., which can downgrade to a connection to SSL 3.0, thus weakening security. So there are a lot of things that we didn't touch on, but this really goes to the wide stack of and spectrum of security offerings that we embed in our practice.
Okay, thanks. And then let's see. Here's one or two others that seem to be Compass related. Does Compass support two-factor authentication? So the fast answer is yes. As one of our many security features, Compass supports two-factor authentication using Duo, CyberArk, and maybe other products as well as needed. I would mention though that even with access, that authentication is really to the Compass Commander interface, and even with full privileges to Commander, a user does not have access to the backup infrastructure or any of the backup components. So it's a different model than all other backup products in the industry. But yes, indeed, there is two-factor authentication to the Commander interface. Let's see.
Greg, I see a question. Where are the encryption keys stored?
Good question. So those are automatic. There's two options there. So a customer has a choice. Customer can have Cobalt Iron Compass completely generate and manage those keys, and that's done for many internal keys that are used within the Compass architecture. And then for client or for customer interaction, they can use their own certificate authority.
Oh, that's great. I see a question here, and I think I'll try and address this. It's the question is, do you have or have you seen a good model to include data as an asset into a company's valuation? And that's quite fascinating. A lot of companies are valued in their 10K reports and annual reports on their assets like buildings and so on. And there are two key areas of now recognized valuable assets. That's people and data. And on the data side, in a lot of our conversations, we're finding many of our clients are not really even aware of all the data sets that they have. And the ones that they do have, they're not really sure how to kind of leverage in regards to combining data, looking at insights and actionable capabilities from that point. So we actually sit down with them in many cases with a workshop around master data management, where we sit down and look at a sort of a series of drivers from strategy to governance to compliance to readiness, and even to a point of understanding more and more some of the dynamics of third-party data that is implemented as part of the strategy. So there's no one answer to fit a sort of like a question like this, as it is more of understanding through our workshop and a consultative approach to help them with their data strategy.
Okay, thanks, Ed. And I think we have, let's see, probably time for maybe one more question. I see two here. Maybe we can get to both of them real fast. One is Cobalt Iron a true SaaS solution, pricing and delivery of a service? So the answer is absolutely yes. A lot of times when we say it's SaaS solution, it might be, you know, a SaaS consumption pricing model, and Cobalt Iron has that. But even more than that, the Cobalt Iron Compass technology is truly delivered as a SaaS delivery. And it's very unique in the way it's architected, in that even though it's delivered in a SaaS model from the cloud, it has full on-premise, high performance, high service level capabilities that sometimes are not seen in other pure cloud SaaS solutions. So yes, the answer is yes there. And then the other last question I think I see is the Compass solution available outside the US? And the answer is absolutely. Compass is available through on-demand worldwide, and Compass has been sold and deployed on every continent, I think with the exception of Antarctica. So I think that's the end of the questions. I wanted to thank you, Ed, and also to thank all of our audience participants, and really wanted to, again, congratulate Chris Trudell and Stephen Henshaw on being the winners. And then Carolyn, we'll turn it back to you to wrap it up.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Greg and Ed. We are out of time for today. Thank you also to everyone who joined the webinar. I invite you to check any attachments or visit cobaltiron.com to learn more about Cobalt Iron Compass, and also solutions.lenovo.com to learn more about Lenovo. This recording of the webinar will be available for replay, and we will also be sending out the slides as part of that notification. Be sure to check out Lenovo's Briefing Center website for more briefings, including our upcoming 4-part series on digital fluency, how to make sure that the right people get the right information at the right time in order for you to make the right decisions for your business and also your customers. Thank you everyone once again, and have a great day.